Today on the We Invested podcast, we have Meas, and he is the founder of Naki Group and NakiTokens.com. Vez, how are you doing today?
Doing great. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good, man. Thank you so much for joining, and I think you guys are building and creating something very interesting that I'm definitely excited to learn more about.
Yeah. We're working on something quite exciting, so I'm actually looking forward to myself.
Awesome, man. Awesome. And before we get started, would you mind letting the people know how they can find you on social media or the internet?
Our website, you can find us at NakiTokens.com. Twitter is at Naki Group RE. Facebook, Naki Group. YouTube, Naki Group. And
Nice,
that's
nice.
NAKI.
Awesome, man. So let's just start from the top, man, and talk a little bit about, where you're from and where you grew up.
Okay. I was actually born in Cambodia, but grew up in Seattle. So grew up there most of my life, and then about 11 years ago, moved back here to Cambodia and got two real estate investments over here.
Yeah, man. Seattle is a beautiful place. I used to live right downtown. I think it was, I can't remember what pier it was, but it was right across from my Ivar's and like the Ferris wheel. I lived down there
Oh,
for about 9 months, man. So I love Seattle. It was like a beautiful place.
it's beautiful. I miss the greenery out there.
Yeah, man. So, what made you want to move back to Cambodia after spending some time in Seattle?
It was just the opportunity. My dad started coming back since 1993, going back and forth. So, given that Cambodia had a the Civil War, 75 to 79, so early 80s, it was starting to rebuild itself. So as time goes by, opportunities coming up. It's a developing country. So that one day my dad just like say, hey, you should come check it out. So I did. My first time back was in 2001, and ever since then I came back almost yearly, and then finally made it permanent in 2011.
Nice, man. So, I mean, how was that transition for you? Um, just moving back to your home country and then kind of seeing it developing and seeing it, I guess, kind of grow from the ground up.
It was definitely a trip because growing up in the States, it's a very developed country, and then come back here where it's just starting up. So you can say like it's back to the future. The things that we've seen in the States were just starting to show up here.
Yeah.
And to me, that was that opportunity. We were just like the internet itself. Dial-up was just starting here when we were, having high speed over there already. So that in itself is just, just seeing things grow and progress over time.
Exactly, man. And I feel like it would help to have a optimistic outlook on life and like a positive mindset because, just to be able to see the opportunity in that and not think like, oh man, I have to go back home. But it's like I get the chance to go back home and create and build something new and start something new.
Yeah, that's exactly what it was. It was a chance to help contribute um, to the home country, taking what I've learned in the States and then bring it back here and providing jobs. So, that was one of the reasons why I came, was just contribute somehow, some way to help this country grow.
That's awesome, man. I mean, and what's that feeling like just getting the chance to actually uh have a positive impact on your country and just being able to help the people around you.
I feel blessed, given that my family had the chance to migrate um, to the States, and given that chance at life. Like both of my parents lived through the killing fields and they survived that. They almost died a number of times, but they made it.
Wow.
So, given a chance to grow up over there, to get the education I got, to get the work experience I got, like I'm just blessed. So it's, I do feel lucky. I do feel honored that I can come back here and, provide that chance for other people, to create jobs for other people, give people that chance to grow and work together and to, share the experience, mine from the States and theirs locally. Because, even for me, I can learn from people here, just the culture, just the language. I lost some of that growing up over there. But, being here, I got to learn all of it back.
Nice, man. That's awesome. So, let's just kind of focus a little bit on the company that you're creating currently. Um, and what I want to ask is, what is Naki Group and NakiTokens.com?
But Naki Group, I started back here in 2013, and we were initially a property management company. Then over time, we got into real estate development. So we built our company around real estate. So it's development, the property management, sales and leasing, and the hospitality side of it. So our first project was in 2014, called Silvertown Metropolitan, which is a 111 condominium building. And then we went on to do a 84 unit landed property, like your single family residence. And then recently we partnered up with the developer from China to build Agile Sky Residence, which is 963 units condominium.
Wow.
Yeah. So the Naki tokens is basically we're just trying to embrace a new technology to what we do. With real estate, traditionally you raise funds with shareholders or private money or through REITs. And then I was talking to a friend of mine who introduced to another friend were telling me about token, which is like, hey, you want to liquidate some of your units using tokens. So this whole world was new to me. We spent over a year learning about it, discussing it, getting it set up, and now we're close to launching it.
How do you prepare yourself to, work on these huge developments? From 111 condos to, what'd you say, 963 buildings, and like, how do you just prepare yourself mentally to take on a task this large?
It's definitely about having a team, having a vision, and then understanding what the needs are. Back then, if you look up to the sky, there were barely any skyscrapers. But within that 5 years, it's just everywhere you look now are skyscrapers. So that's how fast things were taking off here. So there was a demand, there was a need, and you go through your normal business analysis. What needs are there? How can you fulfill that need? How can we benefit, and economically, and how do people benefit from it? So it's just starting to make sure it was a win-win type development for everyone involved.
What would you say are some of the opportunities, or what opportunities does an asset-backed token provide to its investors?
What it provides is that you think about traditional investing. You find a property, you raise the funds, and then you build it. And these are from your private investors or institutional type funds. But now through the token way, yes, we can raise it the same way, but now also by putting on the blockchain, everything is transparent. So everything about the building itself, all your facts, like how many units, size of the units, listing price, values, and also the type of revenue. It's long-term lease, short-term lease, or your nightly stay, like the hotel type revenue. So all to become very transparent. So any investor that want to get in will have access to this. They can understand the risk, rewards, and type of returns, and it's all automated. So it's a benefit for the investors, and as a developer, it's a increase our investor pool and increase our liquidity.
So is this an investment that, is it specific to a certain country? So can you only be in Cambodia and invest in this token, or how does that work? Like, who has access to this investment and to these tokens?
It's actually open worldwide. That's why it was important to have a good team to work on this project. And for this, we worked with the law firm out of New York that got us set up to make sure that everything was done legit, we've done properly, because it's quite sensitive when you're raising funds, and we got to make sure the investors are accredited and they're able to invest. So previously, it was just everywhere except the U.S., but now accredited U.S. investors can also come in on this.
And so when you say accredited investors, what is that? 250,000 a year, or have $1 million in assets, or what are the qualifications for that?
Yeah. So you'll go through your KYC process, and those are some of the main qualifications. So exactly what you said.
Awesome. I mean, what got you interested in real estate? Like, what gave you that spark to say, okay, I want to I want to make this my career path. I kind of want to do this for the next 10 years or maybe even for the rest of my life?
Um, way back then, I was a mortgage officer, so that's how I got started learning about real estate, seeing people buy and sell properties and doing loans, for home buyers, and so that got me interested, and also knowing that hey, how did the wealthy people get wealthy, and real estate was always the common factor in there. Um, so combination of those just like you got me very interested in it. So started flipping houses in the States. Did that for quite a while, and then eventually got me here to Cambodia to start doing development.
Yeah, man. I mean, and just, speaking of being in Cambodia and doing developments, what would you say are some of the benefits and the challenges of investing in Southeast Asia?
But some of the challenge was like it was a new market, so there's certain things that you still have to educate people on, uh, such as property management. Yes, we can build a building, but what happens afterward? So the operation side is quite important. So you know things like the property management fees, the sinking funds, and all that were very new. People were questioning like, hey, why do I need to pay for it if I'm not even staying in it? Because some of the buyers were bought as an investment property. So it was those basic concept that was yet to be understood and practiced. So that made it a challenge. But otherwise, there were certain things that were actually great, like the permit process. In the States, we're a year and a half out. Where here, it could be a matter of months. So you can get things kicked off a lot faster. Um, so and plus you're in a market where it's emerging. Back then there weren't so many competitors. So it's easier to kick off, easier to sell and market a property and even to get tenancy, just because it's so new, versus like in a state where, downtown Seattle, every other building is a condo building.
Right. So, what is the economy like in Cambodia? Like, is it are these developments affordable to the residents in the country and in the cities? Like, is it possible for people to actually live there, or does the economy rely on tourism? How does it work?
The economy does rely towards them, but also investors. The fact that the country is growing at a high rate, like pre-COVID time, we were having a growth rate around 7-8%. Um, so a lot of people were coming in, and it's also the ease of doing business in Cambodia. It's foreigners can own a company 100%, so that was attractive to people. The capital restriction, where it's made it also comfortable for people to bring funds in to invest in Cambodia. So there are a lot of attractive things, and those were the people buying the condominiums, so they can buy property, and see 8 or 9% returns per year just from rental income. So that definitely made it attractive for people to buy the properties. And if you say it's affordable, yeah, let's say to the expats, people coming to work here, they're able to afford the property. For locals, yes, people had gained their wealth, and a lot of it through the buying and selling of land. Land prices have definitely increased over the past several years, so that created a lot of new wealth. So they're able to buy up many properties. And you talk about affordability, you can find condominiums from 30-40,000 upwards to 500,000 to penthouses in the $1 million range. So I would say there's a product for the mass market.
Man, that's incredible. So, in your opinion, how can a new investor get started in real estate today?
It depends on where they're at. I think there's a chance for anyone new or experienced. If even if you have no money, and this is just general talk, not just Cambodia, but in general, as long as you have that passion for it, you take time to learn about it. There's many ways to go into it, even with zero down. That old concept, other people's money. So like in the state, you can definitely leverage on that. Talk to private investors, to come in with the initial down payment. And after that, you can leverage with like a hard money lender whose requirement is definitely not like your traditional bank. So you can get into, let's say, $100,000 property with just 10% down, get some loan on it, make your first profit, and start saving from there.
No, man, that's a great piece of advice. And something very useful. Can you remember when you first got involved in real estate? What your first deal looked like, and can you take me through the emotions that you were feeling once you got your first piece of property and piece of real estate?
Yeah, my first property was um, it was actually south of downtown Seattle in the Rainier area.
Nice.
It was a house built in the 1920s, and it was just like old and needed a lot of work. But so I got into the deal with actually no money out of pockets because at that time, the 100% financing was available.
Oh wow.
So qualified for that. And but I remember I was maybe a bit in over my head because it needed a lot of rehab work. So I started looking for people to just buy it off of me and wholesale it. So luckily, I did find a group that wanted to take it on and just flipped it as a wholesale and made my first 20K. So being a young kid making 20K, I was definitely exciting.
Oh yeah, man, 1000%. That's incredible. Make your first 20K off real estate. I mean, and it's like before you make that amount of money, uh it seems like out of reach in a way. But then once you do it, you think it's possible. What else can I do? How much more can I make? How much bigger can I go?
Yep, yep. That was exactly the feeling. It's like, damn, I made 20K. Now, how can I repeat this process? So,
Exactly.
start looking for more deals, started learning about it more, and it just went on from there. But, it was definitely a trip to be in the mid 20s and making that kind of money. Back then, 20K was a lot.
Oh yeah, it's still a lot now. Um, what would you say are some of the biggest lessons that you've implemented moving back home to Cambodia? Like, what were some of the big lessons that you took from Seattle, or you took from being a mortgage broker, and that you transferred over to what you're doing now?
One of the big lessons is to actually do your homework. When you're young, you're just taking all sorts of risks. You got to understand the market, kind of see what's going on, how interest rate affects home prices and buying power of people. Even you buy a property, like, are you gonna be able to sell it at what you thought you would, based on market condition? So, I admitted back then, young and aggressive, I was just going for it. My thought was like, single, not married, no kids. So anything happen, I'm good. Like, it's just me. Versus now, when you're older, you got a bit more responsibility. So you gotta be careful with that. Double check your math and make sure you're hedging your risk a bit. So doing that, coming to Cambodia, the same thing. You really got to study the market. And like for me personally, coming to a country where it's, yes, I'm Cambodian, but it's still new to me. I didn't grow up here, so I have to understand the culture, how things are done, how the market runs, how the news around the world will affect the business here. I got to worry with people coming to buy, or who would buy. Uh, so it's just really understanding your environment before getting into any investment.
So, how did you focus on, because you mentioned that even though you're Cambodian, your home was the U.S. and it's the U.S. So, how did you focus on building relationships and growing your network once you moved back to Cambodia? Like, how did you focus on building that team out?
You just can't be shy. You just got to get out there, talk to people in the industry, and people in the game. You just get to know them, see what they're doing, how they're doing it. You just mingle with other developers and just learn from them, like what's their vision, what they see, what's their take on the country. Because the cool thing about Cambodia is you got people from all over the world here. You got people from Korea, from Japan, from Thailand, Singapore. So everyone has a different look, but they're all here for a reason. So you just got to know, like, hey, what's that reason? What brought you guys here? Like it's harder for them, at least I speak the language and have some understanding, but for them, it's definitely foreign to them, but something's drawn to them. So it's just a matter of learning from each other.
So you're in the process of tokenizing real estate. What is blockchain technology doing for the real estate world?
But what it's going to do is the transparency that'll bring that the ability for diversification and like for developers, the liquidity and just the ease of transaction. So for example, let's say you wanted to invest in Cambodia. I'm sure you'd be like, well, I'm interested, but how do I get in? It's you got to do some research, got to talk to people, and even take a trip out to understand what's going on. Versus utilizing blockchain, you can invest right from the comfort of your home. Just go to our website, go through your KYC process, and after that, you fund your account and you're in. So it's really that simple. But with blockchain, like I mentioned earlier, it brings you that information. It has been vetted. The legal team has done their DD on it, so everything's there for you to study. The performance, the occupancy rate. So all that is there for you to see.
Are there any unique benefits that your token holders can enjoy?
For us, it depends on the level of investment. So let's say you're coming in at 250,000. You'll have some free night stays. We'll organize tours for you to Angkor Wat, which is the main temple that's what Cambodia is known for. And then we'll also open you for other investment opportunities. So you can explore and be a part of something that some exciting projects. It could whether it be a resort type project or office buildings or condominium. So imagine saying, yeah, I own part of a condo building in Cambodia. That sounds pretty exotic to me.
Exactly. Exactly. I mean, just listening to your story, man, and listening to your past, you're no stranger to entrepreneurship and taking risks, and making big investments. So, is entrepreneurship an interest and a skill set that you've kind of always had, that you were born with, so to speak, or is it something that kind of developed over time?
I would say it's something that developed over time. What definitely helped was my parents. They hustled. For them it's the reverse. They came from Cambodia going to the States, and that was foreign to them. Speaking very little English, and in a country that is just they don't know the culture, and they got to learn everything and start their life over there. So when I was young, I barely saw my parents. They had to work two jobs each, just to support us. I remember we were living in a house with like three different family,
Wow.
garage converted to a bedroom and whatnot, and all this just to save. Um, so seeing my parents hustle like that and sacrificing their time with my brother and I to work to support us, that definitely was an inspiration and something I hold dearly to this day. It's like they hustled for our family to have a good life. So that definitely was a big influence on me. And then seeing them, we got there in 1981, and by 1988, they were able to save enough to buy their first gas station.
Wow.
So they bought that, and even then, my dad was working the night shift. It was located in downtown Seattle, so sometimes the night shift got some tough crowds, but he did it, and from there on, he went on to purchase another one, and eventually we had about 5 gas stations at one point. So seeing how my parents grew their business and just put in that time and just pure hard work, that definitely was an influence and pushed me to become an entrepreneur myself also.
That's incredible, man. I mean, and buying gas stations. I mean, that's one of the coolest things, and that's one of the coolest things I heard. And it's basically everybody needs that. That's a I don't know if that's considered a commodity, but yeah, that's something everybody needs.
Yeah,
Um, so it seems like early on you understood the importance or the benefit of like having your money work for you, or creating some sort of passive income. How important is that to you today to have um just multiple streams of income as well as sources of passive income?
it's definitely important. Let's say you go into what I do, real estate development. you're building a building, but sometimes it takes 2 3 years out before you even see a profit. You know, yes, you can sell, pre-sell and whatnot, and there's payment schedule, but all that's going towards the construction of the project. So if you're hedging that with some passive income, like having a rental properties or other business, you definitely cash flow to live every day. So it is important, and it became even more clear to me during the pandemic. With all the travel restrictions, investors were coming in, tourists were coming in. So, our occupancy went down, revenue went down, and it was it was tough to get by. I mean, let's just be frank about business. Like there's ups and downs, and that definitely was a downtime. And, now that I think about it, like if didn't have any rental properties to support the cash flow, it would have been even worse. So
Yeah.
having a passive income is definitely a must. It is to hedge your risk. Let's say for anyone wanting getting to a new business, they got to hedge that somehow to make sure that they're safe.
Exactly. I mean, and is that something that you're still focused on today, even though the travel restrictions have been lifted and vaccines are um, being administered? Are you still focused on growing that passive income, growing your real estate rental property portfolio?
That's definitely part of the plan. Uh, I'm fortunate that I'm able to travel between here and the States easily. So, with the US, there are some benefits like you can leverage where interest rates are definitely a lot cheaper over there versus, Cambodia, where, let's say your average interest rate is around 8% or so per annum. So if I'm able to leverage there, buy properties, uh, at a good price and get some rental, why not? It's a good way to hedge it. It's a good way to get in and, less cash out of pocket, but still make some passive income and benefit from the appreciation of the property. So it's basically a win-win all around. So yes, even though there's no restriction and whatnot, we just don't know what the future holds. So definitely it should be part of the business plan. It is part of mine.
So, when you're coming back to the States and you're looking for rental properties, do you like to focus on like still in that Washington, Seattle, Bellevue area, or do you like to go to the middle of the country? What is your preference now at this point?
At this point, my preference it's I would say Bellevue. I mean the metro area, so like Bellevue, Kirkland, and even Seattle itself has been growing. I see SeaTac, Tequila, Kent, all came up, and even Tacoma is coming up. So I would consider those. And I would look at the price range. Let's say if we can pick up a property, exit out, to flip it around 500, 600,000. I think that hits the bigger market versus you go to your $2 million range, which is your Bellevue, East Side area. It's more targeted towards, let's say, a couple making 200,000 plus a year. So you just got to see, where the risk appetite is. Selling a $2 million home versus 500,000, which one can be faster? So I would look at those areas, but at the same time, I also look in California, but I wouldn't go to your, LA, Beverly Hill type. It's, you're talking about 6 7 million type homes.
Mm-hmm.
I would rather go play out in Palmdale, Lancaster, and right now like the Joshua Tree area, Palm Spring area is coming up too, and those you can get in for around 100K. So then you have more strategies like, hey, don't want to keep it as a rental, Airbnb, or do I flip it? So definitely a lot more options, and same things about hedging your risk. Like if nothing happens, worst case you get a loan from the bank for 100, 200K, and you're still okay. So it's an
Man, that's
easier exit.
yeah, no, man, that's incredible. And just kind of um how you look at it and how you speak about it, I can tell you're experiencing this in like your season and you've done this, quite a few times. Like it's definitely not your first rodeo.
Yeah, definitely went through it all. Learned a lot of pain also, some losses, but you know what? It made me who I am today.
How do you define success as an entrepreneur?
I would define it as reaching your goal. So everyone's going to have a different definition, but let's say for me is to be able to not have to work or to worry like, hey, when's that next paycheck coming? So if I'm able to provide and the goal that I set for myself, which is like, hey, I want multiple stream of incomes. I want to be in real estate. all aspects of real estate. And if I hit those, then to me, that is success.
And what would you say is the most important reason for your success up until this point?
Definitely support from the family and the loved ones. Um, in business and networking, you'll meet a lot of people. Uh, you know, in the fact that I do business in the state and also in Cambodia, like the world is just huge. When growing up in the state, that's all I knew. But by coming out here, I'm able to travel to how many different countries? It's just a hop, skip away. Singapore, Malaysia, Thailand, Vietnam. I've been all around here, and you get to see like just how big this world is and how many different culture. Um, so all that play into a part of the business that I do.
Incredible, man. How would you like for people to remember you and the company that you created?
Uh, I, I would say, well, haven't had that kind of question. I think maybe like that's someone that wanted to help the country, that got out of the comfort zone, of living in the States and go to a country where it's growing, and to be able to contribute back and to help people and not just build building for pure profit, but at the same time, just doing good for society. CSR is a big part of what we do too, helping the people out, helping those with not so much. So I would say with our business is I want to be known and remembered as helping society.
Incredible, man. And final question. What does the future of Naki Group and NakiTokens.com look like to you?
With the tokenizing, I really believe that it's going to open the door to a whole different world. People in the token world and that want to get into real estate that don't know how yet or don't understand yet, and those that who even those that are in real estate in the States that want to broaden what they do overseas. I think through tokens will open the door for them. It'll minimize the risk. It's an ease of access. Uh, and there's number of projects we got lined up here. Anything from resort development to affordable housing. Uh, so there's things we got lined up that will definitely be interesting for all types of investors. So we're going to continue to work on that, create the projects, create more opportunities for people. And through tokenizing, I believe we can make that happen and just open that door for a whole pool of investors, and that give us the opportunity to just take uh, have a bit more fun and go a bit more crazy and just try to find unique things for our projects.
That's incredible, man. Vez, thank you so much for your time today, man. I enjoyed getting a chance to speak with you, and just to learn more about the importance of experiencing different cultures, um, having multiple streams of income, and really having a mission to help and give back to your country and really impact the people. So thank you for your time today, man.
Michael, thank you for having me.